Okay, so here we are. Luis, Katrina, Julio,
Hi.
Isabel, and Cornelia. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hello to everybody.
Hello.
Hello, Cornelia.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
Hello, hello everybody. Hola a
Hi.
todos.
Mhm. Yes, we hear, at least, Julio, I hear you like if you were traveling in the space, something like that. Yes,
Hmm.
perhaps it's the connection. You are in the telephone, I think, and it comes and goes. And I saw that you were joking in the other conversation about this these two conversations happening and this difficulty to connect uh, was connected with the issue we are talking today, that was systemic approach in politics, no? It was something around that. Okay, so yes, Julio, you tried to say
Yes,
something. Yes.
y- ye- yes. I try to make a joke about it,
Uh-huh. Fine.
but uh, I guess I'll be quiet and I'm not. It's not quiet the word, but in silence, in
Mm-hmm.
order to not to interrupt with my energy space spaceship voice. Peruvian shamanic word voice.
Mm. Okay, so regarding the topic we were invited to comment today, no? Uh, how to apply, or we put it this example of NEOS as a new political party that defines itself as the first systemic party. But I would like to start perhaps just wondering if we all of each one looks in his context. Uh, where are you seeing systemic approach emerging in your political context? If it's like this, if you see some kind of behaviors or some kinds of conversations, or in your nearer context.
You want me to say something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I will do. I think if we, in the whole world, we observe politics, and most people are judging politics. And I think that's very fine, because what is behind politics, which is much more important, where there has to be a change, is in the system, the money system. For example, the juros. ¿Qué juros in, what is juros in English? Interests. The interests they are doing that 3%, for example, in Brazil, owns 95% of everything. And when we talk a lot, and so it's my opinion, talking a lot about politics and be angry with politics, so we really don't watch what's very important, to change the interchange of money.
Mm-hmm.
There is a German group, and not group, it is called Wissensmanufaktur, Manufatura do Saber. E eles se dedicam muito a isto. E tem un site maravilloso. There is a good side, great side, and they give conscience to this. I can put the address in the chat.
Thank you.
Yes, I will do. Let me see. So what is happening in Greece now? It's politic or it's money system? What is moving?
I think it's money system.
Sure. They, on the whole, the money system, for example,
Yeah,
the system of interest, it's ruling the world. It's not the politics. So I will give.
Who else want to continue?
I think
I'll do it. Okay, for example, when I see what's happening here in Spain, or not only these last moments, but yeah, just before, I agree that there is something regarding to money, but money is not the issue. Money is the way the issue is manifesting.
yes.
In Spain, there is like this reaction against politics, but because politics are disconnected from reality and citizens. So there is like a willingness to transparency, to participation, and to take decisions, to be in charge of their own decisions and future. And I see that this is happening in Spain. It is happening in Scotland, that I was some days ago there with them. So I see that there are different ways of surfacing it, of arising it. Sometimes it's an identity issue, sometimes it's money issue, sometimes it's another kind of issue. But what is underlying is this desire of being in charge of your decision and your future, participate in that, and transparency. That in order to take good decisions, you need transparency and data.
Yeah. I agree. Here in Mexico, we just have elections, and we work with some party. We work with them with the image of the candidate, of the image, the communication, and sometimes we do some constellations, and in order to get more information, not just the data gives you all information. You need sometimes another thing to see, and they are open to constellations, but not everybody is open to constellations or to work with the image. Sometimes they want to work with another tools.
Mm-hmm. What do you see emerging in Germany, Katrina, or in UK?
I think there's a lot of things emerging everywhere, and I have a feeling that it's all interconnected, and more it's just like a big game to me. It's who's printing the most money, who's loaning, who lending who the most money. some contracts here about how they're going to pay it back or not. But to me, it's just all a big game, and I have this funny feeling that there's something above the game that we don't know about. And so I find it hard to take it all seriously, really, when they talk about, especially the Greece situation is in Europe. It's the big question at the moment, because I think we are just like puppets, and I think we're so far. You spoke about transparency and making your own decisions, but I think we're so far away from transparency now, and so far away from what's really going on, that I find it very hard to connect these two things, because I think they're so far away from each other. And I mean, this isn't what's going on in Germany. This is just my own personal feeling. So I feel quite disconnected to it, because I find I don't really know where we're going to get this transparency from, because I think it's so far away from what we realize or what we think where it should be. If you can understand what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
For example, it's not stopping with the politicians. These politicians are not, in my opinion, are not the ones leading or controlling all this. This goes much higher and beyond that. And when you think about global organizations, I think there's a key, or these contracts, the global contracts being made, and organizations becoming stronger and stronger, and I think there's something behind all this, but I don't know what it is. So I think when you're talking about transparency, I think that is the only way, if there'll be a movement coming up to somehow, if possible, try and get to the bottom of all this. That's my personal feeling at the moment. I don't know, what in Scotland did you get a feeling of, or you went to Berlin? I mean, you've had a lot of experience in these now, talking to a lot of people. What is, how would you describe the feeling that you felt?
What I feel is that in most places this willingness is arising, and there is a big movement, probably a big and slow movement, because this is not going to happen just in a couple of days, and all these movements converge in that direction, but probably they are only the first steps. I think that, as you said, it's not that, for example, for me, Scotland, it's a strange example, because in this case, it's the government that it's taking the first step, inviting people to do things, and to be only to be the holders of the space, to provide resources for people to interconnect, engage to what matters to them, and just try to fix them, but not in the normal way of I hear you, I define what are the goals, and then I do something for the citizens. No. So I think in that sense it's a strange example, because I feel that in the rest of the countries, civil society goes just farther than politics. So the change will not come from the governments or from the established structures. It's people that are doing things different. So, for example, transparency, it's not just that governments or other institutions wants to be more transparent. It's that nowadays, with the technological issues, you can't hide information. So information flies freely, or almost freely, through persons, through countries, through fields. So this is something that this reality by itself, it's arising a lot of the dirty stuff, and it's the same. It's in politics, it's in football, it's in church, it's in different sectors. So it's like everything it's arising. It's more difficult than before not to be transparent. No. So it's not an intention, but it's a reality. It's a movement that it's coming. No, so people have to react or respond to these movements. And some people are realizing that nowadays we have problems that are global. That, for example, it's a very simple thing, but nowadays people start talking about systemic banks. So these elements, these banks, that their impact can change the whole system. So at least it is like an awareness that it's coming in the society, that everything is interconnected, and if you want to go in any direction or any improve, you have to take in account the whole system. So somehow the systemic approach, it's becoming evident, because it's just facing us in our day-to-day work. So that's what I'm seeing, that in some very strange cases, this impulse comes from the government, or perhaps it's from some people in the government, that they themselves have this awareness and trying to enhance this movement. And in other places, they are trying just to control it. But I'll tell you like another example of how you can't control nowadays the information. The last edition of the ULAB was made in China with a lot of people, and Facebook doesn't work. The presence in live session doesn't work. So there were like different channels that were controlled by the government. So it was not possible for them to do that. So they found another spaces like WeChat or others, and to provide this information, and people managed to do that. So it's, even if you have difficulties, the movement, it's so strong that it will overcome the different obstacles and difficulties. And probably we are in the first stages of this movement. Yeah, I agree with that. But there is a sense in the different countries that something is changing, and citizens are just fed up of just saying yes and yes and yes, and you decide, I vote you and you decide, for 4 years or 5 years. So there is a really change in the awareness of who I am and what's my responsibility as a citizen, and an awareness of that we have to see for a bigger system. If you only see for yourself, that it's the problem of the political party democracies, that parties are looking at themselves and just re-electing them, no? So this fragmented view, and I think that somehow there is a shift is happening.
That's good. That's nice to hear.
And another thing that I heard quite along is that the field, the social field, is ready. Has been like preparing for long years, and now it's prepared. So when you offer this field, this space to society, it responds. No? So sometimes things that could seem very difficult or very long to happen, they just happen in a chance, because the field is ready. They are waiting for some way of doing it. So that was what most people were sharing, no? That this readiness of the field to go a step forward, even if it's difficult, or even if it takes some time, or that. And it's as if we can see what's happening in Greece right now. We can see as a local problem, or we can see as a symptom of the whole system, let's say whole Europe, that this symptom is facing a challenge to the whole community of Europe. No, so it's not about Greece. It's not about them. It's about the whole system.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of voices and inputs that are in that direction. So there is this kind of awareness in Europe, even if perhaps right now it's not a majority of people, but perhaps it's in very few months all the stuff just torn down, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So if we take this example of NEOS as a systemic party, there is another party that it's in Denmark that was built like I think 1 year ago after a training in Theory U there, and someone decided to create a party based on Theory U, and they presented last elections, and they got like 5 deputies or 5 representants in the. So in very few months they managed to have like a big representation in the parliament. So this is another example how people is waiting for this kind of opportunities to change the way of doing or the way of voting.
Yeah.
I hope very much that we will have sufficient time, that they will get more force and there will no war collapse be before.
You know that a system that has to shift has to create pressure and energy to jump to another level.
But the other energy is very, very strong.
Yeah.
Now, when I saw, for example, I think United States, they are investing 680 billions of dollars in arms. They will use them.
Yeah.
You know, try to use. Or when you see, for example, that that big companies start to go to judge or to the court to accuse countries. No, like cigarettes did in Uruguay. Uruguay is a little country; they can't pay. So we have other movements too, and other movements we normally do not get conscious, because sure, it's not reported in news. I really, perhaps you see, I'm be with you. But this moment, I don't know if other things has to be done too, to really to start more to see consequence of the money system, not of money. Money is exchange, but of the systems in the money.
Yes, but
for example, the interest. If I go to the bank and if I put money in the bank, so I get interest. That I get interest.
Hello.
That I get interest. Others have to go into debts. And it is a system that is growing exponentially and has to collapse. Nothing in life is growing exponentially, but the system of interest, and this system creates in a time that how to say, that little part of people have nearly all the money, and billions are working for them. It's not the people; it's the system. And I'm sure I studied a little bit in Wissensmanufaktur with them, listening to them. Everything we want to change, and every good ideas, if we don't include to look at that system, it's many energy lost. So it's my opinion, it's my observation. There are a lot of other observations too.
Yes, I agree that this increasing it's not sustainable, so it will break down in any moment.
Yes, it breaks down. It normally breaks down in wars. One way. And you see what is happening. No, it's my kind of view. What is happening with Ukraine? No, I think there are a lot of arms put in Ukraine from United States. No, and when there is the collapse, the war will be in Europe, not in their country. And perhaps in some way, no, I don't know, in some way they want to be, if Europe would do a union with Russia, so it could be difficult for United States. They don't want.
The other day I read that Europe has been built in crisis. Every time that Europe has been created always in crisis. So around the crisis, it was the moment that then something was made, but not in normal periods. It was just we needed a crisis, a big crisis, in order to make a step forward.
But we do it. We need this like German, like company, or like persons too. If everything is nice, so we stay in our comfortable, normally zone and do not move.
Yeah, so when we are talking, for example, about banks, about money, how will it change? The change will not come from the bank system.
No,
that's clear. But if people start sharing money between them, or crowdfunding, or I mean, if people start doing things in a different way, the bank system will have to change and adapt. So I think that's where the civil society is trying to organize in themselves, and this will impact in others. For example, I'll give you an example of what's happening in Spain. I don't know if this new party, Podemos, that it's based in local circles, will reach to government. But right now, the impact is very clear. So their increase in the vote desire is obliging to the rest of the parties to change their strategies and to change the way they elect the representatives. So even if you can't change wholly the system in the way you want, your movement makes other move. And in that sense, for example, if there is created by citizens another way of lending money one each other outside of the traditional system, bank system, it will change the bank system. Or if people are start developing their own energy, it will change the energy system, energy production system. No, so these kind of movements that even if they are trying to stop or to control by laws, my feeling is that these movements are so strong that they will not be able to stop them. So they will have to adapt somehow.
Hope so. Hope
Yeah.
so. Hope so. Hope so. So I think it's very important to put conscious about the consequence of the system of money, not of the person, but of the systems we have in money world. And normally most people don't have the conscious.
And here my question will be, there is more or less consciousness than 10 years ago?
Yes, 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 yes. That's great.
Yeah,
and
so
I
I think
hope the movement will be on time and not the others. Okay, see?
yeah, so that's what I feel, that I don't know if we are on time. I don't know if
No, I don't know. I hope so.
But this is, I feel this sense of that the movement goes that direction. We don't know which will be the real impact. We don't know which terms or with what delay the things will happen, because sometimes there is this delay issue. But well, that's what, at least what I'm seeing. And probably it's not in the whole system. And it's not across the whole country, whole system. Probably is more in the field and with the people I'm meeting. That probably most of us are in the same idea and direction, and probably it's not the real picture of everything. But what looking what's happening in Greece, what's happening in Spain, what's happening in the Arab Spring, that there are different consequences and different paths, and probably it started one way and now it's in another. But what's underlying? No? What's underlying there? And it was very interesting to hear, for example, what's the frame of the independent referendum that they have in Scotland. So for them, the referendum was not about an identity issue. It appears somehow as an identity issue, but at the end, what was underlying in their awareness was that people want to participate. People want to take decision on their own, and the way they have to manifest it was like in a referendum of independence with England, but the issue was that all the society needed to embody this decision taking and participation issue. No? So sometimes in some places there can be like a surface idea of what's going on, and it's like quite different, but the underlying movement probably it's quite the same in most of the countries, with this idea that the previous system doesn't work no more, and we have to.
What system then?
I mean, the capitalist system that brought us here doesn't work, doesn't have results that people want. So everyone knows that we have to change, but the idea is that we don't know yet what's coming, what's emerging, no? And how to deal this uncertainty and how to deal this not knowing. No? So in your political area in Brazil, in Germany, in Mexico, do you see this awareness coming up or manifesting somehow in any kind of parties or movements or associations or?
Well, in Mexico, a lot of people doesn't believe anymore in the party, the parties, and for the first, but the parties has a lot of money what came from taxes, and for the first time in Mexico, won a candidate who doesn't have a party. He's the first one, and for the first time, and that I think that is a victory, and that is a huge change because he win without money, or he win without that kind of money, and without the support of the media, without the support of the radio and the TV and the press. He was impressive what he do to win, and how many people vote for him. So we consider that that is a huge step to do things different. The party of one.
Sure, in Brazil there are people which are looking for other ideas. On the whole, most people they don't think about creation of something new. Most are present in judging the system, and the time they are present in it, so they manifest the system. I think nothing will change. And you have, for example, you have capitalismo consciente. ¿Cómo se dice?
Consciousness.
No, but everybody, or not everybody, but most people there inside, they are very sure financially, and they have enough money, and they don't talk about money system. So they have nice ideas for people, but it's not enough. In my point of view.
The system's working for them.
Yes, the system is working for them, and they have nice ideas for changes. But it's like maquiagem. Maquiagem, o que é maquiagem? Like putting
makeup, yes.
Makeup. But sure, there are people. Sure, there are people. They are looking for change.
And what about Germany, Katrina? That is one of the more impactful countries in Europe. And what's cooking there in the politics?
I seem to. There are new parties coming up or more, but at the moment it tends to be more on sort of the right wing parties are coming up more because of this current situation in Germany with the refugees and the immigrants. That is a big issue here at the moment. And so the movement is at the moment, it's like securing what we have for some, worried about what the future's going to be like. It's changing for them. I mean, here in the area where I live, there's a small town with maybe I think 12,000 inhabitants, and in the next 6 months they're going to get 1,200 immigrants, and that's going to be a huge influence on this small town. So at the moment there's a lot of insecurity and worry about what's happening here. I think there's a lot of Angela Merkel gives, or for many people, she is very trustworthy, and I think they believe in that she will sort things out. She's very competent, and I don't get a feeling that the German people are very worried about their about that part of the political system. But I also, when there's a vote or an election, there is less and less participation. Mm. So I don't know if that's just people feeling they have no influence anyway, or why that is. But the participation is quite low in the elections. So I don't get the feeling here that there's in my personal, I mean, apart from my working life, that's obviously we talk about these things, but in private life and in people I meet in organizations and things, I don't get a lot of this kind of worry. It's not a topic at the moment. It's a topic with the younger generation, like my son who's in his early 30s. That generation are thinking more of big picture and the big bank financial system, but otherwise I don't hear a lot of it. It's not a topic at the moment here that I feel.
Mm-hmm. But have a look at www.wissensmanufaktur.net.
Mm-hmm.
Have a look.
Mm-hmm.
I will. There are many people inside, the professors from universities, and I really liked to join what they are selling, what they are telling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they have ideas from new money without interests.
Mm. Well, there was the Bitcoin was quite popular a while ago. Have you all heard of that? So I think the Bitcoin, the monetary system that's separate from the bank system.
Yes.
That was also a trend in that direction, wasn't it? Crowdfunding is huge now. Yes. As you said, needs all these new ways, and the banks are going to have to adapt, or the classic system's going to have to adapt, I think. I mean, look at the Deutsche Bank. I mean, they're in such a mess. They've done so much, have had so much negative publicity. Yeah, I think there will be big changes in the very near future. There's a lot of strikes also going on in Germany, which is also new.
Yes.
And I think it's the same thing. You know, it's like, for example, the German Post making millions of profits, and then the poor postman has to go out on strike to get a few euros more.
Yes.
Yeah, this isn't just happening in that area, it's happening in a lot of the branches, whether it's nursing or the pilots or a lot of people.
With the Bahn, the
trains. Yeah.
Yes, but it's like because the system. When we were talking about transparency, it's because what happens is that if you don't have the picture of the whole system, it's very difficult to take good decisions. And until now, it has been like everything fragmented in silos, no? So I think, for example, and in this sense, for example, if you see the overall data of Germany, probably they are good. The macro data you see, and you see, I don't know, to give an example, the average income of a German person, it's 100 euros a year. That's the average. But that's not the reality. So, I mean, even if the macro data can be good, the difference between people that have more in Germany and people that have less, it's increasing. And this is not sustainable.
Sure.
But if the system don't have the mechanisms to see itself, it's working just in his own box. But if the system have the possibility of looking what's going on in the whole system, you can take better decisions. So if you just address what's going on in Greece just in your box of your nationality or your country, you can see something. And if you see the whole game regarding non-European community, it's different, no? So I think this is one of the issues that wanted to bring NEOS and this systemic approach parties, or how to bring systemic approach to politics, to get out of your box and see that everything is interconnected, and if you don't have this awareness of the whole, your own projects or actions doesn't lead to the desired goals. They go in another direction. So it's like what's going on in Greece. Some people decided that austerity was the better medicine for the ill, and now that he is worse, they accused the ill for not taking more medicine. No, but this is because you are not being yourself or part of the problem or part of the solution. No, so I guess how could we, or if that we are, it's our part of our job, not working this systemic approach. What could be a good shifting point in our societies to bring this awareness of the whole? What do you think?
I think one is really to connect more to, let's see, perhaps little parties or group in the whole world, not only in the country. And I think one possibility is to make a channel in YouTube, to do interviews, to talk about it, so there is a possibility for people to join in whole world.
That's similar to what the movement the Theory U movement. That's similar to what's been happening, isn't it? Yes. A lot of people getting together worldwide and discussing these issues. I think something really drastic has to happen before people are ready to think about these issues. Really.
Yes, and that's
there
clear.
Has to be a need. Has to be a real need, a desperate need, and then they have a reason to be open, or they have to be desperate, I think, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what's happening in Greece, that I don't have nothing to lose, so I can stand in my dignity. But if I have something to lose, perhaps I become more conservative or try to look only to my... No? Yeah.
And look at our work. A lot of people could use constellation work to support decision-making processes or change processes, but usually the reason they come or they decide to do it is they're desperate then. They don't know why this isn't working, or there's something, they need help. And yeah, it's some kind of desperate situation they're in, or there has to be a real need, or a pain, or something there, discomfort, quite serious discomfort.
Yes, and another key element can be that next generations are going to behave differently. As you said, Katrina, about your son, it's like the people that now are totally prepared, but they don't have job or they don't have future or so. I think that when these different new generations reach to power positions or to influential positions, there will be a shift, sure. Now, because what's happening with the young people is that they don't have nothing to lose because they didn't have nothing. They don't have money, they don't have position, they don't have jobs, so they have to reinvent themselves and create other things of working in peer to peer, without intermediaries. That until now, government, bank, everything has been who intermediates between you and the power, or you and the money, or you and how to create these networks peer to peer that avoids the control of these intermediaries. So probably this will be another disrupting element. It's the new generations that didn't leave our wealth-based system. So they don't have this to lose. Everything is to gain. No?
Yeah, or they're not willing to pay the price that some of us paid. Yeah, the young generation I know are not willing to pay that price. I mean, just work-life balance, things like that. They're not willing to work 12-hour days and 6 days a week. They value their work-life balance more than people maybe 10, 20 years ago.
So we are in a talk which is very, very complex.
Very complex, very complex. And you know, there's so many different aspects to it, and it's for me, it's all connected. And obviously we know it's our job to know. But when I work one afternoon as a volunteer for the refugees that come here from Somalia and Syria, and there's thousands of people coming now in our area, or in the area where I live, and apart from all the other financial and problems, they're all also traumatized. You know, we're also dealing in Europe with thousands of people that are actually very, very seriously traumatized. I mean, I'm sure this is in other countries also. It's not just here, but when people have been living in Syria through the last few years in this war, and then they have, it takes them a year to get here, or I have a woman I'm working with from Africa, from Somalia, and it took her about a year and a half to get to Germany, and it's horrendous what she went through to get here. And then now they're here in our, I can only think of German Heile Welt. It's like everything's lovely here. We all got a good standard of living, everything. But these people are traumatized. They need so much more than we can give them. And this isn't just a problem here. I mean, when I drive home to England, there are camps in the north of France, people trying to get to England, trying to make a living there. And this isn't just not handfuls of people, but thousands of people. So how is that going to change our communities, our societies? You know, that there has to be a big change. Something has to happen. We can't just carry on as if these things aren't going on. And they're all connected to the monetary system and what's happening in Europe, in Greece, in the poorer countries, plus the war zones. And yeah, it's very complex, as you say, Cornelia, and I think it's going to be a huge challenge for the years to come.
Yes.
Well, how could it?
What interests, and sorry, one more point. What really I find quite unbelievable is why isn't there anybody in the government or in the European Union or looking at the big picture? You know, I go and talk to the people in the government offices here, and they're making a little plan for our area, and there's another government office making a little plan for what we're going to do with the people there and here and there. But there's nobody looking at the big picture of what's going on in Europe. Or no, I can't feel anybody looking at this as a big picture.
I'm sure there are many are looking, but they are. I'm sure. For example, in Brazil too, they are all judging politicians, and there are many politicians which really want change, want something, but they are in a system, and the system make them to do what they do. We have not to look at the people. What is the system? What are the rules of the system? What is leading the system? For example, there is one of pyramid of power. Low, there are people, then are politics, then there is economy, and the empresas, the companies, they are with more power than politics. And then comes money world, and on the top is the private banks, which have power.
Yeah.
Okay, so any other comments, question that will help us to just round this conversation about systemic approach in politics?
I hope we can connect somehow this with the conference and with the NEOS, and also connecting it to what you experienced in Spain and Berlin and in Scotland.
Yes.
I hope somehow we can connect this, because this would be also a next step for me.
Yes.
Yes, and I think, for example, and it's not about we can talk about the system, but it's not only about the system by itself. It's also about people, about individuals, and probably what's going on in Scotland, it's about 2 or 3 people that started the movement. So they took this decision. They put themselves in risk, because when you try to promote something that has his risks, you don't know how this is going to end, no? So you have to lose some control. So they have taken this risk personally, and things happen. So sometimes it's not that lots of people have to change, but some individuals in the right moment, in the right place, can make a difference.
Yes.
Because and not because they are better or worse, but because they are in that position and the social field is prepared to attend what's coming up. So I don't know, for example, I have and in Scotland everything happened because 2 or 3 people attended the first ULAB, and they saw that this could be good for the country, and they are trying to promote it for the second edition. And I don't know, for example, in Spain, one of my colleagues here that was training with me and that was in the ULAB, now she is selected for being the director in one of the province institutions and she's promoting this same thing, or trying to promote this thing in Basque institutions. So sometimes it's enough that one committed people in the right position can't just hold this movement. So, and if I think in Scottish government, or I think in regional government here, we can think the same in national government or in European government. I mean, probably the most difficult thing is to be the first one to take this risk, and the small group that is committed with this initiator. But once someone starts this, the field takes this, and everything emerges. So I want to be confident of that the conditions are already there. We need only a spark. We need only a initiator in each place, not one only, but this network of people that wants to make their best and be in service of that, no? So, in knowing that this will be difficult, that the whole system is trying to maintain its own, yes, things are changing, and I have hope. Yeah.
That's good.
I hope so too, that more and more people get conscious of the impact of the different systems, and with the conscious they will start what you said, Nies, to do something different. I hope so too.
Yeah. And I see like the metaphor, if you want to bring down a whole house or a whole building, you have to push a lot to break it down. But if there is it's already a crack in some of the parts of the structure, and you just try to make this crack bigger, it falls by itself.
Sure.
So it's how to find these cracks, no? And some cracks can be when we were talking about crowdfunding, or individual energy generation, or all other things that makes the building can't remain at it is right now, no? So how to hold these small initiatives that are just opening these cracks to go ahead.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's been wonderful to talk to you.
Thank
have this
you.
conversation.
Thank you to you
Thank
also.
you.
And we hope to continue with this conversation in Vienna, in the Congress.
Yes, we
I will
hope
not
so.
be there. I will not be there, but my mind will be with you.
Okay.
That's good. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much to everybody.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.